Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So,
Hi.
thanks for being here. And I'm here with my pal Diana Bowles, and I'm so happy to be here with her. And
Me too. Thank you
thank you
so
for being.
much for having
Uh-huh.
me.
Oh my goodness. So we talked about this. We're going to be doing this one, and we're going to be doing one later on, like in the new year. But she
Mhm.
introduced me to Elen of the Ways, this book, and the goddess Elen, and we're going to talk about her today. And I got so excited, I felt like I was back learning something new about Merlin, actually. So it was kind of fun. Yeah. So welcome,
Yeah,
Diana. Thank
well,
you.
hopefully we can both come together on some new stuff today, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
For
Yes.
sure.
We're sort of celebrating. I mean, tomorrow's the solstice.
Hmm.
Yule is around this time as well. And
Hmm.
this particular goddess has something to do with what's going on right now as well. And it goes into other things that we're going to mention, including some cave paintings that were found. And so, and there's a movie about that, a documentary about that out there. So I want to make sure that you know about it, so that you can watch it if you're interested, if this brings you joy. Hello there. Hi, Gerald, and hello to Heather Indigo and
Ah,
Hypnicity. Yeah, she is a horny baby. Yeah, she's got, see, isn't this beautiful? Diana gave me this little reindeer. I'm so excited. And so, yes, Hypnicity says she's a horny baby. Michelle Krantz, Mousy, Christine, Laura, Anne. It's good to see all of you. Warrior Girl, Lisa. Oh, Diana, Lisa says, loved last night's reading. So, yeah.
Liz. Yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yes.
And
I
hi,
can
Claudia.
I give her a message really fast?
You may.
After
Yes, of
after
course.
after I had a second to calm down, and we had signed off from the show, and it just came into me. They were two separate times,
Oh,
and it wasn't at the same time as your honeymoon. And they also showed me a stairwell, but I don't know if you fell down it or not when it was your honeymoon. But they were two separate occasions, and I have the impression from that the time that was under the cart, you were younger than you would have been at the wedding time.
now we're all interested. We'll have to go watch the show she
Yeah,
was
there
on.
you go. With dragonfly crystals.
Uh-huh. That's awesome. That's awesome. Hi, Coyote Rosenbaum. You have had a headache for 2 weeks and you can't get it under control. Honey, I had it too. It's sinus, it's downloads, it's a combination, but it's also one of the very big signs of this strain of COVID. So check it out. Yeah. But I understand it's nothing. When you have a headache like that, it's hard to lift your head up off the pillow. So hello,
Get yourself
Annie.
some good old Vicks vapor rub, man.
Yes, that helped me a
Plaster it
lot.
on
I had
your
it right
head.
here on my head. Yes,
Yep.
Diana
And
told me about it. I felt in the arms of my mother as I put that on my head.
yeah,
Brought me back a
especially
few
when she
years.
would take the pajama top and or my undershirt, because we had
Yeah.
those back then, and
Uh-huh.
and smooth it over that Vicks and keep it tight like a compress.
Mm. Yeah, well, my mother also used compresses on my when I had a sore
Hmm.
throat. She would make the compress really cold, 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 and then tie it around with a piece of flannel. I don't know. Anyway,
Oh
sometimes
yeah,
those things
like a
really
muffin
worked.
flap. Yeah,
Yeah.
hot and
Hello,
cold.
Book Bewitched. Hello, Linda Bishop. Your headache lives next door and is your landlord's wife. Well, that sucks. I am so sorry. Hi, Vicky Howell. Yes, I want to make sure I'm saying hello to everybody. I wrote in a few people. Vicks Vapor Rub, Gerald says, there's a memory. Oh, and it's a good one for me.
Yep,
So,
me too.
yeah. Oh, you fell down the stairs at Heathrow Airport, Lisa? Okay. Wow. All right.
Oh, so that was in this life. Okay, so that explains why they're two separate lives, for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
If you ever get a chance, I love Monty Python. And there's a song, I'm so worried about, um, I'm so worried about retrieving my luggage at Heathrow Airport or something like that.
Faulty Towers. Do you remember Faulty
Yes.
Towers?
I
It's
love all
Train
that
that
crazy humor. Yes. Yes. Yep. Okay. So your mom used mustard compresses. All right,
hmm
book. And you still use Vicks. I enjoy the
Me
scent and
too.
memories. Yes. 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 Well, I have some now because that's what Diana, she said you should get some. I hadn't thought about it. You know, I almost thought, do they still make it? You know, but they do. Oh, yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Our skin isn't as tender as it was, so it doesn't quite burn as much, but
True. True that.
it still makes you shut your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I don't think I did mustard packs. I'm glad that I didn't. You know what Keith does? He uses the Edgar Casey remedies. He uses, um, when he has gout, he wraps his foot in, oh, it's that liquid stuff. Castor oil, I guess it is. Castor
Oh,
oil. He wraps his foot in castor oil and then he puts it in a plastic bag.
yep,
And yeah,
yep.
okay. Okay.
Because then the body absorbs it. Castor oil
Yeah,
is
goes
an
away. The gout goes
eliminator.
away. Yeah.
It's an eliminator, amongst other things. It is such a fantastic product. In my salves,
Mm-hmm.
in the dandelion salve
Yes.
I sent you,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
that is the carrier
The
oil.
carrier. Okay. Okay. Hi, Carolyn and Peter. It's good to see you. And hypnicity, mentholatum. Mentholatum. I
Yes.
remember that. I don't
Yeah.
think I used it, but I remember the name. Yeah.
Two different brands.
Anyway,
That's the same
so
thing.
we are going to be on tonight. Don't forget, we're going to be on tonight with our dreams and so forth show. And so we have a lot to talk about here today. So we're going to go ahead and start. Um, we may have time for a couple of readings, but I do want you to know that what we're working on mostly today is the discussion on Elen of the Ways, which is Elen is the deer, are the reindeer or the caribou that they're the deer that are in the higher elevations. Is that, or they were saying how these forests are up here in Canada?
Yeah, the boreal forests.
The boreal forest, right? And I lived in Presque Isle, Maine for a very short period of time, and I don't recommend it to anybody. But right above Presque Isle was caribou, and we'd see him in the road. We'd see him off the highway. You know, that was amazing.
Well, and that reminds me of Presque Isle here in Michigan in the Upper Peninsula.
Yeah.
And our caribou population, which brings me to tears because we're down to 30. And it wasn't very long ago that we had 1,000 in the herd that was counted, that were able to be head counted. So there may have been even more. And it just, because of deforestation and this changing of the seasons, global warming, they're dwindled to nothing but 30. And
and the same thing for us with the coyotes. Oh no, the wolves. I'm sorry, the wolves up at the Canadian border. People have been shooting them, and and
it's terrible.
And they're going away. Yeah, they're going away.
And caribou and reindeer are they're cousins. It's
a different,
the same, and they can interbreed.
Okay, so they have that's cool.
It would be one way to pop the population back in.
Yeah. So yes, Heather, the deer are also my main spirit animals. That's that I love them so much. And
I have a skull
Diana
too.
has her skull there right behind her.
I found this myself in the woods. Antlers. I have a Native American creation here and I can't remember the name because I always call her Elen. So that, and then I have another rack above her. Okay. I have spines. I have hip bones. 2 years ago, I found an entire carcass.
Okay.
minus the head.
Yeah.
Because someone else had probably
Someone else. Yeah. I
didn't
understand.
take the meat.
But they are just pieces. They weren't sacrificed by you. They were just, you found them. And so they were a gift.
You know,
Right.
a hunter or anybody walking could
Right.
have taken that head at any time.
Sure.
Because where I walk, it's open season when it's open season. And the deer could have been wounded and fell and died, and the guy never found it. You know, he just, and then hopefully, the animals had their dinners.
Yes.
And then someone else stumbled along and took the head, not the rest of the carcass. But I took the rest of the carcass because to me, the spine is important. That's strength.
Sure. Yep.
So
that's beautiful. Honestly. I mean, I have a really hard time. I love leather. I love cows. So I like to get leather things, but I like to know that they're from
sustainable.
Sustainable. I don't want somebody to kill an animal for me. Yeah. So anyway.
Well, when I rode motorcycles like a banshee, I wore my leather in spite of the fact that I was a vegetarian and switched over to being a vegan at the same time. So, but
it was already a sacrificed animal, more than likely, or it was part of the meat industry.
Yes,
and it was already gone. What are you going to do with it? Throw it away? Yeah.
And heavens only knows. I needed it for protection, and how long ago that animal had been sacrificed. So, at any rate.
So I'd like to start out talking about this as far as going back to 13,000 years ago.
16.
Actually, probably more than 13,000 years ago. And there was a movie that was out a number of years ago, and it was this cave in France, and it's called the Lascaux Cave. And somebody found it, and a lot of people were going into it because you had to walk into it and go way down, down, down. And they found all these cave paintings of everything. And they had to close it down because apparently our CO2 or whatever it is would destroy it. And thank God that they did. So people can only go in there like I was telling Diana, it's like 60 minutes per week or something like that. And but the pictures and the drawings, who would have thought that they would have been doing that at that period of time?
Yeah. Right, exactly. And like the one that they found in Cathal in 2010, which is in South Wales, that one is the one that's 16,000 years old. Definitely more than 14,500 years old. But then you have to add another 2,000 years for the switch in BC to AD.
Right.
And because of that, it becomes like 16,500 plus years old.
Yeah.
And that was chiseled into the stone with flint by someone who was right-handed. They could read all of that.
They could figure that out. And the same thing in Lascaux, only I think they even used like maybe blood for color. There was color in these.
Sure.
Yes. And so they had pictures of deer. They had pictures of bison, I think. I can't even remember. It was so long ago. But the fact that they were artists and they knew that they were trying to, there was some report of them wanting to do this to chronicle how they would go out for the hunt or to keep track of something. And so it's just amazing. It really is. It's amazing that, we thought for so long, I mean, I didn't particularly think that way, but, some people still believe the earth is only 4,000 years old.
And flat.
Yeah.
The only planet out there that's flat.
Oh, book, I will. I got this at this place called Tamed Wild. It's online.
I need
and it's just it's really cute. It is cute. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Heather, have you seen them? Okay. Likely sympathetic magic to ensure a good hunting season. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. So, it talks about, of course, how hunter-gatherers were the first ones, but it also talks about the fact that at this particular time, the goddess was more important. The goddess was, and so I'm going to let you
Right.
talk to that a little bit, Diane.
Well, so the deer, the only deer that have a female antlered gender is reindeer and caribou, and they can interbreed. So when you, it's believed, and they live this way, you cannot control the deer. The deer move by what they have to eat, as do the bison.
Right.
And the reindeer and caribou, this side of the world, they're bigger, circulated all through there, the northern hemisphere, the way up north. And when the I can't remember the name of the tribe, Yamani, when they came out of Ukraine, they herded with the deer. They moved when they came off of the steppe in Ukraine, and they went to Great Britain, and then some went south to the Mediterranean area and in the Middle East. I shouldn't say Mediterranean, though there's legend of reindeer being even down there centuries ago. Certainly not now. But the female goat, the antlered goat, they all qualify in some way, shape, or form as the female goddess with antlers, right?
Right.
And there's so many different names for Elen, but they're all like variations on Elen.
Of the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So imagine my joy when I moved to Virginia. Yes.
Yeah.
When I moved to Virginia, my house was on Ellendale Drive. I was overjoyed.
I bet you were.
And they would come right up to my house.
Oh, how wonderful!
Tracks in the snow.
That? Yeah.
Which brings us to Yule, because solstice is tomorrow, but that's the hang time, because it really started today. This morning, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and the day after. It's that Earth switching gears as Mercury switches gears. There's a hang time. I can't move. I'm pushing in the clutch, and I'm switching the gear. So, but it begins with this time for Yule, and Yule is about Odin's wild night of the hunt for the deer. Right?
Yep.
So because of that, we bring Elen in, because in Anglo-Saxon it was also the Modronite, and the Modronite is Mother's Night, and that is to celebrate the female ancestors and matriarchs of the family. That goes back and back, generation and generation and generation, and for that it is the antler goddess again bringing us to Elen.
Bringing us there. Wow. Hello, photos. Welcome. I'm glad you're here with us today. Thank you. So thank you. That was wonderful. Part of the what's the legacy of Elen is that they would have migratory tracks.
Yes.
So when the deer would migrate, and they're called Trods. Is that?
Yes.
That's what they're called. They're Trods. And they are also on old trails that our ancestors knew would never be built on. However, of course, a lot of things have changed now, and we don't have the same thing. And it's a place where reindeer have a migration urge, and they go across these ancient tracks, which actually are also what we have is ley lines. Is that not right? Yeah.
Yes. And so we go from there to connecting the ley lines. How do we do that? As above, so below.
Right.
And we're on the middle world, right?
Uh-huh.
So there is a cosmic connection, and they lead to the standing stones all over, all over
All over the world. Yeah.
here, as
Yeah.
well
Uh-huh.
as in Europe and Wales and England and anywhere that there are standing stones, there's a cosmic connection.
There's a couple
There
of
we,
pictures here. There's
yes,
one with the deer
there's
engraved in the stone, the flying deer of Mongolia.
yes,
And then we also have one in, where is that? A flying deer stones is the bigger one. But we also had in the very beginning of this book, which this book is only 77 pages. It's very, very good. And I will write it down if you're interested in reading about it. But in the very beginning, I was telling Diana, I did not know that deer like to swim. And so they found these wonderful swimming reindeer carvings that were done many, many thousands of years ago. So, this is just so, you know,
right,
it's fascinating to me. It just fascinates me.
right. The
Yeah.
deer can't be owned,
Uh-huh.
and that is their tribal belief, and
Uh-huh.
that is the truth. They're
Right.
like a buffalo. You have to let them roam, because they're out. When they've devoured the field, they move to a fresher field. They move to places where food is growing and food is plenty. And the reindeer were the same way. But
Mhm.
they kept track of them, and they used them because they didn't have horses. They had reindeer, and they had the ability to make sleds. And
Right.
so,
Yep.
they would
Yep.
they were not domesticated. They were still wild, but it's like my son has a dog that's half coyote. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be
Partially
careful.
domesticated because it loves him.
Yeah. 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 How true. There's a lot of legacy in here that would probably take us a long time to go over. So I'm not gonna really, but what I want you to know is that women, as Heather says here too, the idea of the sovereignty of women and how we are connected to the earth mother. We hear that all the time. But the male is the one that's supposed to serve the earth mother. And we just got it all backwards. We just got to, and it's so funny because I hesitated and hesitated and hesitated to tune into that Barbie movie. It's not something I would choose to watch. And I'm sure glad I did, because it was all about the goddess and the patriarchy and how it's amazing. It's really, really good. I mean, it's silly, but it isn't. It's got a deep message in it. So yeah,
Okay, I'll have to go back and
it's
check
worth
it out.
watching.
I blew it off too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, but it was really, you did watch it, Juanita. Well, good for you. Yeah. Yeah, I was just surprised by it. Akila says she dreamt about deer. Yeah, look at that. She dreamt about deer.
Well, honey, I was talking to you in my mind yesterday. Of course you did.
Diana has a way of doing that. Oh my God.
So yes, Elen the Trods. A trod is the footprint.
Right.
And you can tell a deer's footprint.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's very easy to see what that is like. It is, I couldn't find the page on the book right now if I knew what the number was. And I drew it somewhere in my notes. But it kind of looks like antlers, because there's two curved pads like this. And then the toe print that's would be the thumb.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
And so the cloven hoof leaves its own print, and it's soft. And so when it leaves a print in the sand or in the snow,
right,
you can follow it. You can tell how old it is, when it was left, if it was a male, if it was a young, if it was youth, if it was, heavy.
Oh, okay.
Because a male's is going to be much bigger than a female.
Of course, yeah.
Even in the reindeer, they're going to weigh more.
Right.
And so by doing that, you can follow them. So a trod would turn into a trail, a path, because now we have a herd going through, following the stag, following the matriarch, Elen, or the other female of the herd, who would lead the way and take them through. So now we have man following after them, and they're on sleds. And they would use the same paths over and over and over. So those paths eventually gave way to roads, which eventually gave way to cobblestone, which eventually gave way to cement, which eventually got destroyed because now we've torn down
you've torn down
the city.
Yeah.
So this is where the argument began with Carolyn Weiss. So this is another book that this was released in 2014 or 15. But this book is also very good. If you're really interested, this would be a good one to pick up and read as well. It deals with the Dragon Project of 2017, which is about the ley lines. And if you've listened to Rory Duff anywhere, you know, he has mentioned it and talked about it. And Carolyn Weiss had an argument with the pagan community at that time, because you're talking about modern pagans. And they're saying, no, there's no such thing as the Elen or the Trods, you know, la, 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 la. And so this argument ensued. And just about the time she's in this argument with them, the British Museum finds an effigy of an antlered goddess.
Yep.
Score
all
one.
In good time. All in good timing.
All in good timing. So that Dragon Project, of course, is about the ley lines and the dragon lines and the element, the fairy paths. Which are also where the reindeer roam, where the caribou travel, and how man did not own them but needed them for sustenance as well as clothing. And staying, you know, just staying.
And using their bones, like we did with the bison, using their bones for tools.
Nomadic.
The
world was tribal. Anyone who thinks it wasn't is still in that flat earth society. The whole world was tribal.
Yes, of course. And all hunter-gatherers. You know, that's just the way it worked. And it wasn't always the men. It was also the women. And
and so them coming out of Ukraine went to Great Britain. Them coming out of Nordic lands also came down and went into Great Britain, and also went down into Spain, into Greece, into the Middle East. So they were following them and
their
sort
migration
into other territories and getting to know their neighbors by so doing, and commerce and salt and spices and understanding, an orange, that's good. You know, finding an orange.
Absolutely. So it is funny that the variations on Elen's name turn up everywhere. It's in Welsh, it means fawn. In Czechoslovakian, it means deer. And she's portrayed as an antlered deer goddess and reindeer, and are the only deer species in which females grow antlers. And that was absolutely right. Santa's sleigh only had females.
That's right.
They grew the antlers. And the beast of the
goddess. Listen, Comet and Cupid.
Yes, that's right. The beasts of the goddess still know the old paths that carry the energies of the land, and these are the threads that hold the balance and cycles of nature. They are the ways of Elen.
Yes. So in Welsh, it's Elaine. In Finnish, it is Lukastella. In Bosnian, it's Lane. Elaine. Think of all these variations of the name that we still carry with us today. Elenias in Lithuanian. Ilur is the reindeer in Basque. That is the word for reindeer. And then Yelen in Polish. So, you know.
Is that why people were yelling at each other all the time? Oh, goodness. All right. So I love this, ladies, those of us who are of a certain age. McKay shows us the mysterious feminine characters of the old Gaelic tales who appear as colossal old women. He found that with only one exception, they are all local spirits of place. They are owned, herded, and milked the deer of their respective districts, and that the deer are their fairy cattle.
Yes. Banshee.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, this is a pretty fascinating book. And as you indicated, the next one that you have, which I put up here,
Finding Ellen.
Finding Ellen, and the other one was also Following the Deer Trods. That's the one that's by Devereaux. Yeah, that one is.
Steiner.
That one's
by
Sentier. Yeah. Oh, that's by her too. She's the same one that wrote this one. Okay.
I said Steiner. I'm sorry, Sentier.
Yeah. But the other one that you got was Devereaux, I believe.
There it is.
That's there's the deer track. Okay. Awesome.
And so what I like about this book, especially if everyone in this community, there's no wrong way to do any of this. And you wouldn't be here if you didn't already have a path of your own and are already open to meditation and how to see beyond what's right in front of us. Mm-hmm. So what I like about this particular book is it gives you methods of what they did in the past so that you can honor that and do these rituals now in the sitting present time. And so what it is eventually we get to the matrix. We start with the 6-arm cross, but we start with the 3, the center pole, the above, the upper world, the middle world, and the lower world. Then we start with, then we go add the 4 directions, which also represent the elements.
Which is part of the Native American spirituality as well.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. Yeah.
And they were tribal, but they were so accepting of each other because the honor was there.
Sure. They were all people of the earth, and they valued the earth and the sky, and
and ownership was not possible in their world.
That's very, very important to say. Ownership only started when people started farming, I read in this book. And it was because, and we didn't have any problems until people started laying claim to the land, actually. We didn't. We just didn't. And
I hoed it, I planted it, I milled it, I did this, I did that. And you have to pay me, and this is my property. Get off of it.
Get off my property.
Stop stepping on my grass. That's what my neighbors would say when we were kids. But, it isn't, the dimension is not just this way. It also goes forward and back.
True.
Up and down. And the same thing with the cross lines for the directions and the elements. It is 3D, 4D, 5D, all of the things that we talk about right now. And they were living that back then, 16,000 years ago.
And we think we just invented so many things and we're so wonderful, but they were the ones that were the original. And the really cool thing is, it says here that everything that that has to do with outside, our ancestors knew this, and they knew it instinctively because they lived it and they learned it from their ancestors. We don't even know what we don't know. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's so true with everything. Learning Elen's ways will help you learn about the life we all share on this planet. And if it appears to you, learn from it. Doesn't mean you have to go with it as far as, that's my only path. But it is a way. It says ask. Ask is just about that, asking. Listening means letting go of your ego and your personal needs. And once you get into the habit of not being the center of your small ego self, you move into centering your spirit self. And all of a sudden, all these trods, all these pathways open up to you. I mean, it's just amazing. Yeah.
Right. And so the antlered deer mother led the group to the connection of her stand. The name Elen, she points to the ancient stones and mystery lines of ancient Wales and London, East Anglia, Cambria, Scotland, Caledonia,
Wow.
Britannia, Tarkin, just Leyden, East Anglia, all of Anglia, Norfolk, Suffolk, east part of Fens, the villages, just amazing how they honored her back then. And then for the modern pagan community to say she never existed.
I know
And
that
this
doesn't make any
argument,
sense.
yeah, for
Yeah.
one.
Yep.
So the concept of ley lines came in the 1920s.
Okay. So it was there, but
Mhm.
people didn't really believe in it, and then they brought it back. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the things it says here that really stood out to me, it says that and I already know this, but everything changes, and only so does everything remain the same. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just, it's just a reminder that we need to be open to change, but
Right.
everything is a big circle. We're just going to all come back to it at some point or
Exactly.
another. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and just considering the fact that the deer laid the first tracks. They're the oldest tracks, like the dinosaur tracks. They
Yeah.
have found,
Yeah.
they have also found deer tracks in dried mud on the edges of shorelines. And so think about what we have done to Gaia. How much more cement can we pour on this earth?
Yeah.
We need to go back to the footpath.
Absolutely.
And I just love it because so where I walk, the Trods are there. Always the Trods are there. And so these paths through this state park that I walk in daily were created by the deer.
Created by the deer Trods. Yeah. That's the way it is in Boston. If you're driving through Boston, you're ready to blow your head off because everything it's built on cow paths. And then they just put cement down, and it's like there's no straight lines. It's not a gridded city, but people don't understand why it's so congested and strange like that. But it's because we paved those because they
were cow tracks. They were deer tracks.
That's right. They probably were. You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
consider the lowly pothole. How many times can you fill that pothole and have it come back? That's because you're trying to cover up and block one of Gaia's orifices. And she said, this is my release point, and I'm going to vomit here if I want to. Or whatever she's doing.
Right. Of course. And that's exactly what happened in Iceland yesterday.
Yes.
It was like, I got to blow off some steam here. It's coming.
Yep.
So, I mean, the earth does speak to us if we listen to it. And it talked about walking, and it talked about how your feet in walking bring energy into the earth just as much as the earth brings energy into your feet.
Especially to get out there with your feet bare.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Even if I can only tolerate it for a few minutes because it's snow,
right?
I still do it. I still do it, especially to feed the wild birds in the morning.
Yeah. So the other thing I said to Diana that I liked so much was, it says here, we are conditioned to believe that whatever is said by someone with alphabet soup after their name, and that we lose all confidence in our own minds and intuition. And I said to Diana, oh my God, I mean, I'm glad I got my degrees and all that stuff, but I don't know any more than anybody else does. I think that we all just need to find our own way, use our own intuition. No one's any better than anybody else. And what I say, just because I have a few alphabets after my name, it doesn't mean that, I'm the expert.
Well, you're the one who recommends the book, and I read the same book you read. So I just didn't take the test.
Well,
Right?
yeah.
So did you ever try to read the Mabinogion?
Yeah, I did. And
It's difficult. It's very
difficult.
difficult. I have a really great copy
Do you?
that my
Uh-huh.
African gray bird, when I had an African gray, he tried to read it by eating it. He thought he would just digest it. So there's a corner
Yeah.
of it that got eaten, but that
Uh-huh.
fortunately was just the cover.
Yeah.
But in this book, there is the tale as told in the Old English, and
Right.
then the tale translated so that
Right. Yeah.
I can understand it.
Well, and that's like the Canterbury Tales. I remember in high school, we weren't given the New English. And so we didn't know how to read it. Now I
Yeah.
can read it even in Old English. I
Yeah.
can now. I understand it, but I didn't
Sure.
understand it. Yeah.
Because we've educated ourselves, even if it wasn't provided for us through
Right.
our chosen line of school.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
So they were talking about on page 66, and then I'm going to let you talk about whatever you want with this. But I thought this was so important because it talks about listening to the elders. And what are we? We're the elders. Elders, how do you get to be an elder? It says there's no degree. Indeed, having a degree might exclude one of the degree as part of your own vision of who you are. Elders have lived their lives, they've seen things, they've made mistakes, and they're willing to talk about those mistakes and so help you. Often they've made wonderful things and will show you how to do so. They come because of the respect others feel for them and for how they live their lives. You don't call yourself an elder, other people do. Elders have followed the deer Trods and walked Elen's paths through their lives as well as through the land. And they look for and see the wisdom in the land, in the animals, the birds, etc., and the rest of creation. And as I'm reading that, I'm thinking of Annie Bear because she's always out there, hitting the pavement. Well,
Yeah. So to
And
speak. Yeah, absolutely. How many times did you say, especially since we are of a generation that still sat at grandpa's knee? Tell me about the good old days.
Mm-hmm.
And that is understanding that they were once as you are now. And they were once a child. They were once teenagers and in their 20s and 30s. And I'm sorry.
It's okay. I didn't have grandparents. They were dead in the 40s and I came in the 50s. But I had some elders, and my dad was an older father. He was 39 or 40 and that was old then,
Yeah, well,
But I would ask him, I would just suck him dry from trying to listen to all the stories and all the things that he did because it was so important to keep that. So I get
my grandmother lived to be 102, almost made it for 3 centuries. She died in 1999.
Oh my God.
Right after her 102nd birthday. Had she made it through Christmas and
what
New
a
Year's,
legacy.
would have,
Wow.
yes. And she was right till the end.
Good for her.
And coming from Poland, she was following the Trods.
Sure she was.
As were her parents who brought her here.
Right. Yeah.
So she was born in 1896, and actually she was born here, but she had older brothers that
was like my mother
in Poland, And so everybody spoke Polish. Everybody did the old ways. Everybody, getting the deer, well, they'd all go hunting.
Sure.
They'd go for bear. They'd go for whatever they could and bring it home and cook it and eat it.
Sure, that's what they had to do. Yeah, that's what they had to do. So Christine says, my grandfather was a hunter and we'd walk in the woods and show me deer tracks, just tracks, period. He would say the deer will tell you how healthy the forests are.
True. So true. All you got to do is look at their pellets and
Wow.
And when everything's been consumed, especially when the snow is very deep, they start eating, the bark off of trees.
Right.
And you can tell when the deer have begun doing that because they're stripped as far as they can go.
As far as their heads can reach. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen, I think it was Warrior Girl or somebody else in the chat was saying they saw a deer jump, 6 feet. And I've seen it too. I've seen them jump over fences and all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
they're amazing. Yeah.
And resilient. Okay.
Resilient.
So when I was riding, when I, had my Harley, I'm behind a whole bunch of people, and this guy who's right in front of me, out comes a deer. We're on a mountain road, right?
Oh,
and this is in Virginia. And out comes a deer and jumps over him, and the hind legs tapped his helmet. And I'm
oh
like,
my God.
no,
Yeah.
no, Elen, stay in the woods, stay in the woods.
Yeah.
I said more rosaries on my motorcycle than I ever did in church.
I bet you did. Because you have to look out for everybody else because they don't look out for you.
Because they're not praying.
Yeah.
They're like, woo, did you see that? No,
I know.
Much beer as you, so I knew what happened.
Well, I had a situation where my daughter and I were driving. We were in Virginia at the time. I was in Virginia Beach area. And the car in front of me hit a deer. And she and I we both loved them so much. We just fell apart. And the deer didn't die immediately. It sort of it was crawling across, and I called the police department and I told police, somebody come and take care of this deer. And it's like, oh, it's no big deal. They'll be all right. And I'm like, no, we're bawling our eyes out.
Yeah.
And I thought yesterday when Mousy was on and she was saying how she's very sensitive and empathic, I thought of that yesterday about that deer. And I think all of us who are empaths really have a tough time. I have a tough time if I see a squirrel go down or if I, a bird. Yeah. This was awful.
I might wreck my car trying to avoid that silly squirrel.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. So I once hit a deer in the Upper Peninsula, and I'm driving a great big old LTD. This is like 1980 something, right? And I hit this deer, and she sprawls out like Bambi and is spinning around like Bambi on the ice when he's in there with Thumper. Remember that scene in the movie? And she gets up and runs away. I saw her coming, and I was lucky enough to start pulling over and let her outrun me. So she cut in front of me and got clipped. But by the time that happened, I was only going 20 miles an hour.
Okay.
So as she was, jumping over, all of this occurred. So I was lucky, and I didn't have tears in my eyes that particular day.
Well, you ended up saving the deer for what you did. So.
And I always think of the movie Powder. Do you remember that movie? And at the very, very end, he heals that deer, and then he becomes energy and disappears.
Yes.
And this community makes me feel that we are all powder, that we all have this ability.
Yes, to heal each other. And
yes.
Isn't that, and as we heal each other by Pierrette, which is really...
I love it.
I know. She went full day hunting with her dad. Finally, a deer. I jumped and scared her away. My dad just said, it's okay. I wanted to spend time with you. My dad would say he was going to go deer hunting. And I'd say, no, Daddy, no. Please don't kill the Bambis, And he would never kill any because he knew how upset I'd be. Yeah.
And they're not. We're the one encroaching on their territory.
Right. That's right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yep. If you want to go out there and sit in the woods for a while and enjoy your, the ambiance and so forth. And that's what my dad ended up doing. He would just go out there and sort of hang out, and then come home with his thermos or something, but
with a bag of McDonald's instead.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
So is there anything else we need to talk about as far as Yule?
We're in that time, and there's 12 days of Christmas. So if you consider the 12 days of Christmas as beginning on the 21st, then it would be ending on the 1st or into February. Just depends on when it would begin for you, because how far north did you live?
Right.
But enter Christianity. And now the 12 days of Christmas occur afterwards
Right.
till the Feast of the Wise Men. So I just start celebrating whenever
Whatever you damn well want. That's right. That's right. Yep.
Let's see, are we in Sagittarius? Close enough.
Yep. There you go.
Because
There you
now
go.
we got Capricorn, and then we're going into Aquarius, and God knows we're not going anywhere in Aquarius. So,
Very true.
especially
Yep,
if you
very
live in the north. But
So
my first encounter with Elen, the antlered goddess,
yeah.
that summer I had just turned 5.
Oh my.
And just coming into that, did I just see that? Like, that's when my first praying mantis appeared to me on the porch as big as me.
Okay.
That was my first alien encounter that
you remember. Yeah.
And that I was aware of, right?
Sure.
And so I, of course, had no name to put to her. I just knew it was a reindeer, and I didn't know that it was a female.
Uh-huh.
But she was dressed
Mm-hmm.
in, old garb, crone garb.
Yep.
So tattered and torn.
Mm-hmm.
And I started following her then and didn't even realize it. My dad would take me walking in the snow, and we'd make footprints on purpose.
Yeah.
To track.
Sure.
Especially while it's coming down really hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then he'd say, okay, now where are your footprints? And we turn, because now we're around the block and it.
Right. You got to find him to find the way back.
Right.
Home.
He said, no.
You didn't want to put breadcrumbs down because you knew the birds would eat them, right?
Right. So then he would turn us around and make us walk backwards, go around the other way, trying to find our tracks. So, and it's things like that you're doing with your children, grandchildren, animals, and you don't even realize it.
Right.
And my little grizzly, I don't know if you were with us, but because I think I spoke about it last week, Wednesday, I put him through some rigorous tracking, and he rose to the occasion. I was very proud of him. I didn't know he had it in him.
Okay. That's really cool.
Good for him.
Really
yeah.
Cool. So I do want everybody, and I think everybody knows this, but some of the things for Yule include sacrificing, offerings, feasting, gift giving, evergreen, holly, ivy, mistletoe, and pine, and tree decorating. And we thought that was all the Christians, but it isn't.
It isn't. No, it's German, and it's all the different, and it's pagan, and it's all the different. And it is these, when you go to the standing stones, they activate at certain times of the year, and when you hear the stones singing, that is when we go through our downloads.
Sure.
And now we are so in tune with them, especially this community. I'm speaking directly to our community. Right. We are so in tune with them that this ringing we hear in our ears is because we know what's beneath our feet, and we know what is connected to above us. And no false gods before, shall we say.
Because spirituality is very, very different than religiosity. Religiosity, yeah. This has been delightful, and I mean, we had to sort of make it shorter than we could.
I know.
Yeah. There's a lot you probably could have said, and is there anything
more?
There's more. Yeah. But if you're interested, it's very, very fascinating. Right. And Elen works with the elementals. So the other thing I want to recommend to everybody here, if you're interested in learning more about elementals and trees, is the documentary is it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Trees and Other Variations, or something like
Entanglements.
that. Entanglements. Trees and Other Entanglements. It's very good. we watched it. Keith and I watched it the other night, and it was like right along with what I was reading about Elen. You know,
Didn't you want to cry when that bonsai farm
uh-huh.
got? Oh my gosh!
I couldn't figure out who that woman was. It must have been his ex-wife that did that. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
no,
I know.
well,
They
she
didn't.
was psychotic. The
Yeah, they
person
didn't
who did it
tie
was-
up a lot of things. Yeah, they
Yeah.
didn't tie up. Yeah, too much. First, there were
Yeah.
some things on there that didn't get tied up, but I did like it, and I especially liked it because I live in the Pacific Northwest, and it talked a lot about um, the the tree. And if you go take a ride up north and you go through, oh, it's just devastating what they do to the trees.
Well, that's why my caribou are gone.
Yeah, yeah,
Deforestation.
yeah.
The
Definitely.
stripping of, you know, okay, they've gotten smarter about it. They let one grow up for 40 years, then cut
Yeah.
it down while another
Yeah.
one is growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've gotten smarter about it. But the wildlife that are in those trees, the owl nest, the eagle, the
Right.
squirrel,
Yeah.
the lowly chipmunk
Yep.
living in the hollow, the place the raccoon goes. You know, we're encroaching on their territory. They were here before us. So,
Which reminds me, somebody bought a Christmas tree here in this area, and they trimmed it. They did all kinds of stuff, and then afterwards, they realized there was a barn owl, a baby barn owl that was in the tree.
oh, and it's
And
mother.
so, yeah, it must have been, yeah. But they took it out, and they live on like land, so they have a place to put it. But how could you not see a baby barn owl in a tree? I don't know. It's amazing.
He must have been buried way deep inside.
It was buried way inside of it. Yeah.
Oh
definitely.
my goodness.
I know.
Especially to have a baby owl at this time of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
You know, I used to rescue raptors. So owls were my favorite to work with, except the barn owls can be pretty snickety.
Yeah. Yeah, they can be. They definitely can be. So let's close up here with any kind of I don't know, reading cards, pull some cards, whatever, with regard to Elen and how Elen can work with us in our community. Something like that.
Okay, so my favorite deck that I use is the Wildwood Tarot.
Okay.
You can tell that I have been using this deck for more than
a while. Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'll pull a couple cards from here, and you pull what deck you get in the YULE or Seasons of the Witch. I got that really close by too. I'm
having a fun time with it, but there are some things that I'm reading and I'm like trying to figure it out. So maybe it's good. Then you can help me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Glad to.
All right. Ooh. All right. Oh boy, I love the last card. Oh my God. I'm going to read that card first because the last card is exactly what we all are. We are the wise women. We are the crones. Look at that. And I know that everybody knows this. We've talked about it before. We have the crone zone. We have Colleen also that has the cool crone. Anybody that's older, even my daughter who hasn't had any children, but she's older, she's in her late 40s. She considers herself a crone. And I can see that. But it says here, thy wisdom befriends the honor in which weaves within blood, a harrowing call from the depths of your sacredness. So yes, this is the Elders card. This is the card that Elen wants us to rally around. The other two are, it's always darkest before the light. And of course, this is a darkened time that we're currently in Yule. And it says here, the poinsettia, and the poinsettia is the plant for the holidays. Make sure that you don't allow your dogs or cats to eat them. They're poisonous. Yes. Cast the shadows, scream silence at them, dear witch. What lurks inside transforms into the most beautiful of beauty. I love that. That is so awesome.
You're not going to believe this. Or maybe you will.
Oh, I probably will. Oh my goodness.
There she is.
Yeah, look. It's Elen.
And what was this about, right? The modern night. This is about honoring our ancestors, our female ancestors, the matriarch. And then the next card that came up was the stag.
Oh my goodness.
Right? And
yes,
in this deck, he is the strength card because it was the Rider-Waite who changed the number 8 to being the strength card instead. Switch justice and strength. So here he's the justice card.
Okay.
Because it's the number 8 card.
Number 8.
Then I got endurance.
Of
our ancestors that have brought us to this point.
Yep.
And the justice of the stag.
Yep.
Because, regular deer, the stag is the trooper.
Yeah.
Forest lovers. So we must protect our forests. This is what it's about, and this is what she's telling us. Go back to the old ways. You don't have to live the old ways, but the old ways must be kept alive because we are of the future. And if we don't, this was a resounding, she yelled this at me one day because it was winter and I was walking in the woods and I'm like, but nobody wants to listen to me because I follow the old ways so much and I'm just this witch, blah, 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 blah. And she hollered at me, no, you must keep the old ways. You are.
We all have to.
Because you are of the future.
That's right.
But that was the same day that Ernesto was released. Remember?
Yes.
Yes. It was the same day.
Okay.
The same day.
It's interesting that this crone card is also an 8.
Yeah. Oh, hot diggity, right? And the ancestor card here is a 5.
Okay.
But that's Elen.
Yep. Wow, that's fabulous. Book says, I'm an old crone, but I feel the maiden, the mother, and the crone dancing together. And I agree with you. We are always all 3. We are, because we have that in us. We have the inner child. We have the young mother or the young woman. You don't have to be a mother necessarily, but the nurturer, right?
We have fur babies.
Yes,
there's so many of us here who cry over our fur babies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Ah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I don't remember when we're going to do it, but the next person that we're going to, or goddess that we'll do is Brigid.
Right.
Bridget.
But not for that's her festival is
in February. February? Yeah.
February 2nd usually.
Yeah.
But that's midwinter or midwinter.
Midwinter. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, we're trying to book. We're trying to. I think it's very important. Just it's knowledge that you can share and keep, use if you want, but the messages are so important to share and bring us to more curiosity about different things. Yep.
So this one is a good one to get ritual from. This one is fabulous as far as storytelling goes because there's experiences that others from the others who were involved in the Dragon Project in here, with how they found her because of being on the Dragon Project. And then this is a quick read,
77 pages,
right? And it's bingo. So
it's so nice. Yeah, it really is. It is.
And then if you want to get really deep on the ley lines, see if you can find this old book. Now, I have to say, I just got it. It took me some digging to find it, but I did find it on Thrift Books, I think. And it is by Paul Doherty, and he's one of those.
No, it's Devereaux, isn't it?
I'm sorry. Yes, Devereaux.
Okay.
Devereaux.
Yeah.
And he's one of those mentioned in the book by Carolyn Weiss. And I think Lori Duff still refers to him often.
Okay. Wonderful. In the meantime, we'll see you back here at 6 o'clock Pacific and 9 o'clock Eastern time with our dream show. And have a beautiful day, everybody. Thank you, Diana.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody in the chat. Have a wonderful